I am doing fantastic, Joe, because again, this, as you mentioned, is going to be our final online broadcast for this epic showdown between two of the strongest hitting teams in the CSL right now. We have Temple University, probably and arguably the strongest lineup entirely in the CSL. In fact, they are probably my favorite team of every team that currently exists in the CSL right now, with just such a ridiculously strong lineup versus the tried and true UC Berkeley, who has just been so ridiculously dominant in the previous seasons of the CSL, but they are in sort of their hardest season yet, where they have lost a lot of their really strong, hard hitting players, but still have a good lineup, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's most certainly going to be interesting. And of course, talking a bit about how the season has gone so far. UC Berkeley going 9-3, which is definitely a pretty strong score for throughout the season. But it's Temple that really is the big story here, Joe. Still being undefeated in the quarterfinals of the CSL playoffs, 14-0. That is kind of insane. They have not lost. Can they win the CSL without dropping a single series? Yeah, this doesn't actually make a huge difference in terms of how things end up playing out, just because realistically, it was going to go to the 2v2 no matter what. Even if it's a 3-0, it still goes to that 2v2. So we thought it was okay. Both teams are okay with it. Let's do this. And spawning up in the top right hand corner of the map, we have the red Protoss player. Give it up for Arca. And his teammate spawning a little bit further down to the right. It's the blue Terran player, Udi, both representing UC Berkeley. And then good old UC Berkeley blue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think that UC Berkeley, they have a really strong lineup across the board. But what I would say they're lacking is they don't have nearly anyone as strong and as big of a hard hitter as Temple University's Rays. Rays is going to be the big scary one. I think Tag You're Pregnant definitely in competition has a good, okay chance at defeating someone like Rays, but it is going to be a little bit of favoritism, I think, in my mind, toward Rays if it does come down to an ace match. So I think that UC Berkeley's best bet is not to let it go to an ace match.
Our allies' base is under attack.
Yeah, already doing a little bit of nice damage, killing off one of those workers you were talking about. Reaper going to be able to delay the starport, though. That's really nice. And of course, getting a good amount of scouting information, seeing that the starport is going up, seeing that the Zerg, I mean, no surprise that Tugboat ends up taking the gold expansion. But at the same time, on the other side of the map, Centaur able to do a little bit of damage to that Reaper. Mhm.
All audio. I guess I'll boost my mic a bit. Let me know if that's not fixed, guys.
All right. Hopefully it is fixed, but worth noting really quickly that Centaur going for the one base opening, going for a really quick 1-1-1 with Cloak Banshees, whereas his other Terran counterpart, his opponent, Udi, is going to be going for the what looks to be like a 2-1-1, kind of like a T2Z style. Eventually gets up those medevacs. Going to have 16 Marines, but first needs to make sure he keeps most of his Marines alive right now versus the Hellion Reaper attack. Ooh, losing a lot of SCVs here as well. Wow, really good pickoffs over here for Centaur.
Yeah, really, really tight control. We know that Centaur likes to be an aggressive player here and pulls back, only losing the Reaper, keeping that Hellion alive. If he wants, he can bring it back, repair it, and increase his strength with another push. Or he can just use these Zerglings as kind of cannon fodder and continue to add splash damage onto this attack.
Okay, a lot of Banelings being morphed in over here. Centaur already cleaned up quite a few, not so many Marines, but he cleaned up a lot of the SCVs and kind of delayed Udi's economy. So if they're able to do any more damage, it's going to become a really, really difficult situation, I think, for Team UC Berkeley.
Yeah, it looks like UC Berkeley is going to need to make a pretty strong hold here as Temple continues to muster their forces at the bottom of this ramp.
Banshee also the main base right now, already up to around 4 or 5, 6 kills now over inside the main base. Now moving over to the natural expansion of Udi, gonna be able to kill off another couple of workers. There are no pile-ups over here with an overcharge, and here come in the Zerglings. Banelings still hidden, by the way. UC Berkeley does not know about them. They're moving down the ramp with the Marines. I think this is a bait out. Oh god, I think all these Marines, they do have the medevac. They can escape out of there, but so many of them are going to die. And the supply depot is almost certainly going to end up falling.
Yeah, the supply of UC Berkeley is absolutely plummeting. They're trying their best to hold on. There is a big adapt run-by going on in the base of their opponents, but they need to hang on here. It doesn't matter how much damage you do if you die, and it looks like that might be what's happening to UC Berkeley now as they desperately try to shore up the top of their ramp.
Okay, the Adepts have done a good amount of damage. It's now 24 and 21 workers for Temple, but, well, Udi and Arca have got to hold on over here. The Banelings have knocked down the supply depot wall, and the Zerglings are now flooding on in. Great positioning over here from Udi, but now that the next flood of Banelings are going to be coming out, I don't know if they can really hold this position.
Well, it looks like they've held. Granted, they took a lot of damage, but there's now an Immortal out to deal with the Siege Tank. Dark Templars are on the field, and I think at least for the moment, this attack is solidly held.
That Dark Templar play is going to really be coming in handy over here on the defense, because remember, there's only one command center right now for Centaur, while Adepts and a DT are warped into the opposing side of the map, but defensively, DTs are going to be so strong, because, again, there's only one CC to scan from, and there isn't really any other form of detection besides this one Raven that's now just popped out at home.
Yeah, and with the threat of the Warp Prism constantly on the field, it means that that Raven can either be used to attack or defend. You have to choose where you want your detection. So really powerful, smart play out of UC Berkeley here. Temple does manage to stabilize after cleaning up this attack, but UC Berkeley bought themselves the space they need to hopefully try to rebuild and stay in this game.
Yeah, unfortunately for Udi, he did end up taking the expansion on the low ground and lost a majority of his SCVs. Already lost 30 SCVs this game. Is now down to just a mere 17, making 2 at a time to try and play a bit of catch up, but his economy is a bit in tatters. Arca, though, seems to be doing pretty well. He lost maybe a lot of the Adepts and everything, lost a few workers to the Banshee harassment, but he's been sitting pretty well in this game, and in fact is leading up in supply 80, as well as having a lot of the tech and a third expansion for a Protoss player. That is a beautiful spot to be in.
Yeah, this Banshee harass is going to come in, but there's an observer in place somewhere. Actually not going to wait for that, just calling down the scan, wants to make sure that Disruptor doesn't take unnecessary damage. It's going to be such an important unit in dealing with these big swarms of Zerglings and other units out of Tugboat.
Oh, that one Banshee going to be so annoying. Even at that third expansion, kind of denying mining for a little bit longer. But as you were saying, yeah, those Disruptors are going to be really important. But there's also a Colossus follow-up. In fact, I think you might have canceled Disruptor number 2 and 3 and started up Colossus instead, getting up Thermal Lance. This is going to be a really nice play. You reveal the Disruptor, kind of put a bit of fear into your opponent, and then that's when you start the Colossus production and go into something that is going to be a little bit harder to deal with in a lot of ways.
Warp Prism goes to look for some more damage, but the auto turrets are going to force it out for the moment. It does manage to make it out alive, and the value that Arca has gotten out of this Warp Prism is just absolutely incredible. I think if it wasn't for the constant harassment out of this, we'd be looking at a very different game, or perhaps the next game.
I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, you can just see that by Centaur was SCV count, which has been overtaken by Udi, just because Udi has been continuously focusing on reproducing all those workers he lost, whereas Centaur was taking additional damage to the Warp Prism harassment, finally gets up a natural expansion, but is very delayed on it, and really isn't even mining all that much from there. In fact, it is actually quite a bit oversaturated inside his main base. Really wants to transfer workers, but they got Baneling drops on the south side, ready to move into that third. There's a Photon Cannon available, but I think this could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to wait until the push to send that in. And just hope their opponents don't have the multitasking to notice that it's a lot easier to initiate a drop like that than to defend against it.
Well, Siege Tank's also sieging up. The army is moving down. The Overlord is actually not going for the mineral line. Okay, now it reconsiders. Baneling storming in. Oh, there's no speed on these Banelings, though. So many of them end up dying. But at the same time, the Banelings also kill so many probes.
Yeah, this one Disruptor does fall. The Banelings trying their best to crash into juicy, vulnerable targets here. A lot of the meat of the army of UC Berkeley has disappeared, but these siege tanks are left unguarded. And once again, UC Berkeley cleans up and holds. Arca sustains a decent amount of probe losses from those Baneling hits, but overall, his economy is still soaring.
Yeah, you know, they did a lot of economic damage to Arca, but I don't know if they can actually hold off against this counter push. The two Colossus add an insane amount of firepower to this, as well as those Adepts on the front line. The Siege, 4 Colossus in the mix, with just Zerglings out. Tugboat, he was sitting in a good economic position, but he hasn't been able to make anything out of that Spire, which he has. It'd be great if he could make something, but he just can't afford it right now. He's making Banelings instead.
Yeah, now it looks like the army of UC Berkeley is going to push through, taking that first GG. Really, really great work there, putting one on the board for UC Berkeley, and that's going to move them 1 point closer to going to those finals in Toronto in May.
Yeah, and I know we were talking about this before, but really important that UC Berkeley was able to put one on the board. Not because they're a weak team, but I think because they are strong, but in the sense that their entire team lineup across the board is a really high average. But they don't necessarily have one of those go-to, we can send out this person and he will win any game he goes up against. Tag Your Pregnant, really strong player. Padre, also a pretty strong player, but I think both of those players maybe going to be having a bit of a hard time versus Rays.
I think you're right about that, Fear Dragon, but we are going to be jumping into a quick break, guys. Thank you for joining us. Next up, we're going to have one of our 1v1 matches, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back, and you're watching CSL.
Only $14.99.
Right.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Tell myself.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. My name is Joe Laguidis. I'm joined here by Fear Dragon, and we're about to hop into our 1v1 match between Temple University and UC Berkeley.
Indeed. And we are going to be starting here on Palladino Terminal. In the bottom right-hand corner of the map, top of the purple, Terran player, give it up for not only Sloth Esports, but also Temple University's Rays.
And his opponent in the top left-hand corner playing for UC Berkeley and dig it is Padre. I maintain it's dig it.
I maintain Dejit because it sounds closer to degenerate, which I think Padre is a bit of a degen.
Padre? He's like the sweetest kid I know.
He is a very sweet kid. I love Padre. He's also a really good Smash Brothers player. This guy is pretty damn good. I'm one of the reasons why I'm afraid to go hang out with him, because UC Berkeley is very, very close to San Francisco where I live. But I'm afraid to hang out with Padre because I don't want him to trash me in Smash. I have some amount of like self-respect in my abilities in Super Smash Brothers, and Padre will just destroy it.
So is he just really good at all games he plays? Like, for those that don't know, Padre's also a consistent GM back when he was playing consistently.
Yeah, he is just pretty damn good as far as I'm aware, just games in general. He also strikes me as the kind of person who, I don't know if he plays Toho, but if he did play Toho, he'd probably be good at that, as well as Osu.
I don't know what I know what Osu is, but I don't know what Tohu is.
It's a bullet hell game.
Okay.
It's like a really, really anime bullet hell game.
Okay. Osu's like a rhythm game, right?
Osu is a rhythm and mouse precision game, for sure.
Okay, yeah, I know a lot of pros play it to like increase their mouse accuracy, supposedly.
Yeah. Oh, kind of cool. Probe managed to stay alive long enough. The Reaper does pop out, but the Probe sees the factory coming out, so sees that it's a 1-1-1 opening. I mean, it's not exactly a surprise by any means. It's pretty standard to see that kind of setup, but it's nice to get a big confirmation. Confirm that there is a reactor coming down behind this, and of course, confirm that there's a Reaper that's now making its way across the map. So no corners really should be cut, although Padre is going to have to deal with the Reaper for a little bit, but most of the time that you normally have to deal with that Reaper without any form of anti-Reaper defense kind of gets handled by the fact that the Reaper scouts into the open. Doesn't really see a whole lot.
Yeah, Mothership Core is going to force that away here. Chase him down. Having the Adept out is nice as well. And looks like Padre is just going to be able to establish his natural uncontested. And like you said, Raze is going for that 1-1-1 type build. And I think that's pretty typical out of Terran type players, and especially the way Raze plays in TVP right now.
Yeah, this Reaper getting some really good damage done, up to 3 kills now on top of that scouting worker. And the factory has built a tech lab and is now building another tech lab. I think we're going to be seeing... could we be seeing a really quick Raven and a siege tank push?
I think that might be it. Let's see what this first... the starport starts up here first.
It's not going to be a Banshee. Okay, yeah, it is a Raven. And, yeah, tech lab finishes up in the factory. This can only mean one thing.
Yeah, this could be a really powerful push here. You hit it exactly that moment when your opponent is just starting to get his stuff out, and your push can absolutely snowball. The auto turrets do so much damage to everything up at the front, and I think this is a move where you're going for the throat.
Yeah, interestingly enough, okay, the siege tank does finally start up. He was a little bit delayed on producing anything out of it for almost 20 or so seconds. I'm not sure if that was kind of an intentional thing or if he was just trying to get up other units or if it was a bit of a mistake somewhere. Either way, though, this will be a really scary push out, like you were talking about. Really, really fascinating that Padre has not built a single pylon until just now it is natural. I guess doesn't seem like a huge deal, but oftentimes when you're doing or defending against that kind of push in from your opponent, the pylons are what buy time. The siege tanks have to kind of stay outside of the siege range and whittle away at the pylons, and those are the things that slow down the bio from just rushing forward, the photon overcharge. But Padres needs to make sure he has some other pylons over here if he wants to be able to do that kind of defense.
Okay, so I need to point out that this Special Ops Reaper, which just died, managed to pick up a grand total of 6 kills, which is absolutely disgusting. Yeah, the whole time that Raze has been macroing and building up his base and getting ready to hit his timing, he was just darting in, taking control, dodging out before units came to get him, and picking up kills.
Yeah, really, really strong that he was able to do that. There's also Blink coming out, interestingly enough, from Padre, as opposed to what I think most Protoss players these days traditionally go for, which really fast resonating glaives, and eventually you get a Blink to help deal with Liberators and all that kind of stuff. But this is going to be a much more aggressive attack. I've seen a couple players do this before, and he's going to actually be able to catch the move out over here. If he can force siege ups, that's the most ideal thing. Be able to force siege ups or stims, especially considering, remember, it was Raven and then Liberator. There's actually no medevacs or anything. There's not going to be stim here either, so any damage he does to these Marines any siege ups that he forces from those siege tanks is really going to delay and soften up this push.
Yeah, Padre actually starting to pick off a pretty significant amount of Marines. Losing a Stalker there, which is not ideal. Definitely wants to be getting out of there before he takes too much damage. But, I mean, that was a bit of luck given just kind of the move-out timings. But I think that went really well for Padre.
That went incredibly well for Padre. And now he's going to be able to chase down this Liberator. There's no real area that this Liberator can hide, so the Stalkers are going to be able to chase it down and eventually pick it off. Oh, no, he did find a nice little spot in the top left. That's going to be so annoying to have to deal with. But I think actually the Liberator is low enough on health that 1 or 2 Stalkers that are just, keep an eye on them, make sure you don't just lose them, but keep them slightly in the corner, and I think you should have a guaranteed cleanup on that Liberator, not have to worry too much about it.
This is a continual Stalker production coming out of Padre here, and he's going to use this to take absolute map control. Follow-up behind this is going to be Dark Shrine, which is interesting, but I think right now he just wants to make sure Raze is contained on 2 bases.
Yeah, this can be a really strong style where you have all those Blink Stalkers, but it gets so dicey when your opponent gets up enough of these siege tanks, which Raze is still just producing more siege tanks. He realizes it. Stalker's taking an absurd amount of damage to those siege tanks. The Warp Prism moves into the main base, but it's not actually warping anything in, because right now he's busy trying to deal with the Liberator that moved into his natural. Oh, man. Losing the Warp Prism is a huge deal right now. The auto turrets meant to clean it up, and that really does halt a lot of the potential aggression from Padre.
Yeah, Padre does deal with that Liberator, so it's no longer a threat, but it did its job in buying Raze that time, buying him when it was most necessary, of course. Padre can now kind of walk around out on the map again, knowing he's not going to have to deal with Liberator aggression, but his plans have been slowed down in a big way.
Yeah, and the big thing that I'm a bit worried about for Padre is that he had a really sick opening outside of the kind of Reaper harassment and everything, but he doesn't really have transitionary tech, and he halted work production a long time ago at 44, so he really needed to get something done with those Blink Stalkers, and he didn't. And now he's going to be up against Bio that has stim and combat shields and all these siege tanks, and there's even a Raven that's going to make it a lot harder to make anything happen with those DTs. I'm really, really concerned that Padre's just going to die over here, and it's going to look really silly unless he can get a really good engagement. He might be able to blink on top of the siege tanks or something. The DTs are scouted. Oh, man, and this is just not going to go super well for Padre. Raze pushing on through.
Yeah, now this is going to be very, very rough for Padre. Ray's always the favored player, but Padre with the sick opening, we thought he might have had a chance, but it's going to be a miracle if he can pull this off. Bio going to step forward, looking for any kind of engagements it can take. Photon Overcharge does come down. That's going to buy a little bit of time, and the Siege Tanks continue to walk forward towards their targets.
I think Padre's best bet may just be trying to get a really juicy connection off with that one disruptor that's coming out. But remember, Raze has high ground vision. It's going to be difficult for the disruptor to actually catch Raze 2 off guard. Disruptor has been scouted and spotted. The Siege Tank whittles away at its health a little bit. Disruptor not entirely certain if he can actually send out that shot. Remember, it has to go down the ramp with that shot, so it's going to take a lot longer. I like the fact that he's using the Warp Prism, the elevator to low ground. Could get some good damage done over here, maybe. But now's the time.
Disruptor shot comes off, gets on top, peels off a couple of these bio units at the end, but the DPS is still very much in Raze's favor here. Padre trying to find the best concave he can, but it's a really tough spot to be in. This bio is getting right on top of all his stalkers, and GG, that is going to be a game to Temple.
And the series is tied up 1-1. Joe, we talked a lot about it, and Padre is a strong player, as is Tag You're Pregnant, another player for UC Berkeley, but Raze is really, really scary strong. He is going to be the player for UC Berkeley to beat. It does come down to that ace match, but for now, I think both teams are just going to have to focus on that second 1v1, as well as the Archon mode matches. They're going to be coming up in just a little bit.
Yeah, so coming up next, guys, we're going to have Tesla versus Tag You're Pregnant. Should be a terrific TVP. Don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. We're about to hop into our second 1v1 match of the evening. The score is completely tied up, and it's going to be an absolutely terrific match between Tag You're Pregnant versus Rob.
I think this is going to be an incredibly important match, Joe, because this 1v1 could very well decide whether or not this series is going to go to that ace match, or if UC Berkeley may be able to try and close it up before that. Now, I'm not saying UC Berkeley is guaranteed to win the Archon mode match, but I think this is their best chance at making sure they do not face Raze again.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. So without further ado, let's get to introducing our players. Spawning in the top right-hand corner, playing for both Temple and Eastloft, it is the orange Protoss player, Tesla.
And his opponent spawned down here on the bottom left-hand corner of the map. We have the purple Terran player. Give it up. For Tag You're Pregnant, representing UC Berkeley.
So Tag is one of those guys that, like, a lot of people probably don't really know him, or if they do, maybe it's because his account was #1 on the Korean ladder because Beyond was playing on it for a while. But
Tag.
yeah. But he's one of the better NA Terrans out there, I think, especially when you're looking at guys that are kind of floating just below that pro scene, just in that kind of high GM category, you know?
Yeah, he is most certainly one of those kind of up-and-coming NA Protoss players, which I would argue so is Tesla, which is what makes, or obviously, I meant that Tag is a Terran player, but he's one of those up-and-coming Terran players, up-and-coming NA players, as is Tesla. So it is really interesting to see these two duke it out, because I think both Protoss, besides the top three, which would be Neve, Peely, and Puck, and maybe M Canning in there. Besides those three, like Protosses just generally aren't very good in North America. And same things with Terran. Like you have Semper, Masa, and maybe like one more that I'm forgetting. And that's basically all the good Terrans. NA is a primarily Zerg dominated region, so it's really cool to see the up and coming talent face off against each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we look at this kind of knowing the matchups and stuff, I would say these guys are probably about even in odds. You know, typically in the CSL, we have a lot of matches where you do have to give a bit of favor to one guy or the other. I would say Rob and Tag You're Pregnant are pretty evenly matched, and that should make this one of the most crucial matches of the game. Both teams are really going to want to get this win under their belt and put themselves just one map away from those finals in Toronto.
Yeah, we already see that we have a Stargate opening coming out from Rob. For those who don't know, Phoenix Adept is a playstyle that a lot of Protoss players have been doing quite a bit lately, and it's been something that a lot of Terran players have been frustrated with. So I'm interested to see how Tag is going to deal with this. Tag not doing anything super out of the ordinary. He has a reactor on his barracks. He's getting up his factory. He's going to get up his starport eventually. But it's always worth noting also that Rob, aka Tesla, is really not a normal Protoss player. He is the kind of Protoss player that just loves to do really odd or weird things. And I think his best style is generally when he's not doing something super ordinary. He's always trying to strike that balance of how weird does he get? Because sometimes he does go a little bit too far in one direction, and kind of it's almost like he defeats himself because he tries to get too weird.
Yeah, I do think we're gonna see, because of kind of the caliber of his opponent, I think we're gonna see the more serious side of Rob, and that's not to say we're gonna see a totally straight up game, but I think we're gonna see probably his better builds, his stuff on ladder that he uses maybe to kill opponents that he thinks are really strong, instead of kind of just I'm gonna build Blink Dark Templar. Ooh.
Well hidden Widow Mine over there kills off the first Phoenix. That is a bit painful. You really want to keep those Phoenix alive. And normally a Widow Mine just by itself will not kill a Phoenix. So really important. Tag was able to get some good damage done to the Phoenix while it was still maneuvering around. But Warp Gate technology is going to be finishing up soon. Interesting. Tesla's starting up some more Adepts. I don't think those Adepts... Do those Adepts finish in time? I think Warp Gate's going to finish before those Adepts do. Well, he gets out one extra round of units, I guess.
Yeah, it comes down... I mean, the Warp Gate cooldown time is about as fast as the build time. I'm not a Protoss player, so I'm probably wrong. But yeah, I mean, it lines up pretty close.
Yeah. Either way, though, gonna have those Adepts out, and of course is not gonna have Resonating Slaves this game. He did not get the Twilight Council, which I think is a bit surprising. I guess that does kind of eliminate the chances that he's really looking to get heavily aggressive, because it's not like he has a Robo with a Warp Prism to make it past the wall in. So I guess it makes sense. Proxima Station is one of those maps where you have an in-base natural, so it's very difficult to put pressure on with the Adepts unless you can find a way to get past the wall.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out is both of these guys are getting a lot of production on two bases here, looking to maybe get really strong armies, and it'll be interesting to see how these kind of styles collide against each other as Tesla continues to dart around. He should now have at least somewhat better read on what Tag Your Pregnant's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Tag is most certainly playing a very macro-oriented style, and not macro in the sense that he's grabbing a really quick third, macro in the sense that he's macroing up a massive army on these two bases, like you were saying, getting up his fourth and fifth barracks right now, and does have stim and combat shields on the way. This is going to be a very scary push out now. We do have a bit of a Widow Mine harassment going on inside the main base, doing some damage to the mothership core, but not really doing a whole lot of damage anywhere else.
Yeah, still nice moves to try to split up the attention by Tag Your Pregnant. He does throw down a scan, and see that Tesla started up a third base, and I wonder if that's going to trigger him to move out with this army.
Ooh, Tesla has to be so careful with these Phoenix because there could be Widow Mine just lurking anywhere he goes. And you can see that kind of in the hesitance he moves around with these Phoenix. So he's ready to react and pull back at the last moment. Make sure he doesn't take a big Widow Mine shot to the face and lose some more of these Phoenix. But he's doing a really nice job of it, keeping these Phoenix alive, finding little bits and pieces of openings he can pick off SCVs through. And I guess most importantly is just continuously keep an eye on his opponent and seeing there is no third expansion right now. There just isn't going to be a third anytime soon. So start preparing for the defenses. He's going to need them.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to continue to try to pick away at these SCVs. He really just wants to keep Tag back, I think, and these Phoenix are doing their job in spades with that regard. Tag, you're pregnant is kind of forced between choosing to sit back with this army that he clearly made to attack and keep the Phoenixes at bay, or just allow his opponent to get a third base up.
The other kind of interesting thing is that Tag really only has those first two medevacs out with a really large bio army, but he's also following this up with a Liberator instead of additional medevacs. So these Phoenix that are already going close to picking off one of the medevacs, if they peel off even one of those medevacs, that's really going to hurt Tag's ability to push in over here. Even one stim will be really, really costly for Tag if he only has one medevac left over.
Yeah, and if we look, we can actually see that Tesla's doing a great job of flanking this army, continuing to just do chip damage at the Phoenixes, and then pulling back. I mean, his units get shields back, so he doesn't mind taking a little bit of flak, but he needs to move these out of the way.
Okay,
oh.
Well, lost the majority of the Phoenix. He still does have two Phoenix alive. It's important to at least keep 2 or 3 Phoenix alive at a minimum. He's going to be able to reproduce a third one as well, but the Liberator is going to need to be dealt with at some point as well, as it is flying across the map. And those Phoenix are pretty much the only potential answer to that. Adepts can try and shade it on top of this army. We'll see how Tag decides to take this. He only really has one medevac over here, so that stim it really did hurt the army. They're all going to just be sitting in the yellow for a while.
Yeah, but he sent that other medevac off with a triple Widow Mine drop, which is about to go down in the third base. And if Tag can try to make some damage happen at the front and the third, this could be very good for him. The Adept shade in from behind, finding a good position. Fire going in on this bio army from absolutely all sides, and it looks like Tesla just going to crush the Terran army at his front door.
Oh man, and the Widow Mines, they had a golden opportunity. They went completely unnoticed for such a long time, but the Widow Mines didn't quite end up burrowing in time, and eventually Tesla knows, oh god, he loses 10 workers, or sorry, 7 more over there. Tesla is going to be able to get a good cleanup at the end of the day, so I think he still comes out ahead in this. Like, he has a third. There was no real transition point for Tag over here. Losing that army was really brutal for him. He may even have to float over his main base to the gold expansion or something soon.
Whoa, Fear Dragon, look at Tag's transition. You say he doesn't have a transition? I say 2 base ghosts.
Okay, you know, this can work out really well. If he gets good EMPs on the Adepts, it takes out the shields, and that's a majority of the health, but he's coming in with round 2. The Mothership Core was remade at some point, but sitting way back inside the natural expansion, the in-base one, so could really be making use of those footstone overcharges at some point.
Yeah, cute Widow Mine placement. Tag does want to be backing off of this. Goes off on just a single Adept. Good peel off by Tesla here. And the DPS of the Adepts is just too good for this bio army. Tag needs to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, that's a really, really painful loss once again for Tag, because yeah, he keeps the medevacs alive this time, but Tesla, again, he has a third expansion, and now the army for Tesla is big enough. He has Storm. It's been researched for a very long time. The Widow Mine might actually go off again. Oh, almost killed an Arc, or the High Templars. I think that might have been a really sick move from Tesla. He might have realized that the High Templars were in danger and morphed them into an Archon. Otherwise, I think he would have saved it for Storm energy, but well, nice micro move either way. And yeah, this is going to be a really, really scary time, because I don't know how Tag is going to be able to deal with this. Once Tesla starts getting up a large enough army and feels confident moving out, he will potentially just be able to move in and deny a third for as long as he wants.
Yeah, Tag is feeling a bit brave here. He's going to throw that third down. And Tesla's sending out a single Adept to scout. We'll have to see. Tag does have his army in position to greet him. So Tesla's still a bit in the dark. But just seeing the small size of that army, I think, will trigger him to move out across the map.
Yep, he's going to do exactly that. Now, there is still a bit of a fear that maybe some harassment will come in. Maybe the Medivacs will peel off and go over the natural or the third and do some damage. But that is something that eventually Tesla just has to deal with. And looks like he's made it in time. The Medivacs are not really going to be loading up and going for any form of harassment. Liberator's also over here. And the Stalkers, they don't have Blink, but it doesn't seem like they need it. They're going to be able to get right on top of those Liberators and snipe them off.
Yeah, and now the Liberators with the big firepower of that army. Tesla trying, or rather, Tag trying his best to hold on against Tesla's army here, but he's just being absolutely steamrolled. Production is trickling out to try to assist with this, but the number is overwhelming in Protost's favor. SCVs falling into the meat grinder, Adept Shades all over the place. A couple of Liberators come out, but it looks like it's too late as GG is called, and Temple goes up 2-1 over their opponents.
Really solid game, I would say, there from Tesla, aka Rob, as I feel like the best way I could describe it is that he just had a really good defense. He didn't really take too much damage. He eventually took 10 workers worth of damage to the Widowmine drop. Almost only took 3 workers worth of damage versus 3 Widowmines, which would have just been a perfect ideal world. But also didn't really take a lot of damage to the big scary push out from Tag. So at the end of the day, we end up seeing Temple go up 2-1 and is gonna guarantee at a minimum they will go to the ace match. If not, will just win the entire series, moving into the Archon mode.
Yeah, so a big congrats to Tesla, but don't go anywhere, guys, because we're going to be right back with that Archon match. If UC Berkeley wants to go to those finals, they have to win this one, so it should be a lot of fun. You're watching CSL, and we will be right back.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
When all of your wind has gone and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dream.
Absolutely. We are going to be starting this game up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. On top of the purple Protoss players, give it up for Centaurwa and Tesla, representing Temple University, sitting up 2-1. I would not count it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a really big deal, I think. If Berkeley doesn't make it to the playoffs, they haven't quite made it to every single playoffs, but they have been one of the most dominating forces in the CSL, having won the Azubu Collegiate Championship, spring season 2013. They won the 2015/2016 season last year with, of course, as we mentioned before, Temple taking second. But if Temple can close this out right here in the Archon mode match, that would be a huge, huge victory, I think, for Temple, and make them the favorites to get first place this entire season. Hmm. Yes. Absolutely. Speaking of PvP, PvP can be a very, very fun matchup. And when you talk about Archon mode PvP, it gets a little bit different because there are certain things that you want to do in an Archon mode game that allow you to take advantage of that kind of mechanic where you're sharing control and you have a lot more APM than you normally would. Going for openings where you can easily segment off units to your teammates, like Blink Stalker openings, going to be a little bit stronger, I think, than normal. And we do see double stalker openings from both teams, but also the Stargate openings incredibly common to see in the PvPs, just because Stargate control really does scale with just how much APM you have available and how well you can control those units, as compared to Adepts, which, yeah, Adepts can do better if you're controlling them well, but at the same time, they don't scale as well as other units like Blink Stalkers or, of course, again, Stargate units like Oracles and Phoenix. This is going to be a little bit of a weird push out over here from Centaur and Tesla with a mothership core over here. It's going to look to try and get some damage done, but it's going to take a lot of damage since there are 4 stalkers over here. It's actually going to get a kill. Oh my god, the mothership core goes down. That might not seem like a big deal, but that's 100 gas that delays Centaur and Tesla's tech by a little bit. Sure, the Twilight Council is going up, but I really don't think they wanted to have to reproduce that right now. Oh, I really don't like this movement over here from Centaur and Tesla, and they are going to be going in Stalker versus Stalker engagements, but look at this, we already see that UC Berkeley getting the advantage over here in the Stalker count, keeping that third Stalker alive, and no matter what, that was going to be a big, I guess, surround or a big concave in. I think that Temple University really just must not have been expecting that the 4 Stalkers for Berkeley were out on the map. Yeah, double Phoenix production is really, I have to emphasize, this is not a PvP standard by any means. When I said go for Stargate openings, I was not talking about double Stargate opening producing Phoenix. So this is going to be really strange, and I wonder when Temple University is actually going to catch wind of this and exactly what they're up against, because it might be a little while. They see that first Phoenix and they're going to think, okay, well, thankfully we are going to blink on these Stalkers, but you can't really safely move out. It's not until all of those Phoenix start moving in that you get a sense that, oh, 4 of the Phoenix walk straight past the Observer. That might be the first reveal for Temple University right now. Yeah, to be honest, I feel like this is already just going to become a really difficult spot for Temple University. Unless they get some really good pickoffs on those Phoenix, they will just continue to whittle away at the work count. You can already see 6 workers killed off, and UC Berkeley already has almost a 8 or 9 worker lead at this point. And with Void Rays now coming out behind this, there's nothing but Blink Stalkers being made right now for Temple. And Blink Stalkers do not fare well versus Void Rays in large numbers, but well, the Phoenix taking a little bit of damage. Just the problem is none of them actually end up going down over here, so they're stuck at home. That is a really, really difficult thing to do, quite frankly. So I really want to commend Temple on being able to do that. Even based off the double photon overcharge, nice. There's only going to be 2 more to deal with after this. So if they can just bait out those last 2, maybe they can make something happen over here. But I don't even think that they're looking to. They're getting up the Templar Archives. They're getting in +1 weapons. And this is not enough of a Stalker force to actually push in, especially now that the Immortal is out. But are they overstaying their welcome? The Phoenix finally have an opportunity to move out, and I don't think that they're even needed back at home for the defense like they were before. So now they're going to be able to look for any kind of openings. They spot out the 3rd, and here we go. They're moving to the mineral line, going to be able to kill off a ton of these workers because the Mothership Core is sitting inside the main base. The Stalkers are so far off. 5, 6, 7, 8 probes and more just continuing to fall. They're falling so ridiculously far behind on that worker count. And still, 0 Phoenix have been picked off. Even 2 High Templars lost their lives during that. Oh. Okay, finally lose a couple of those Phoenix, and I 100% agree. I think that just the tasking of utilizing all of your micro, and this is what we were talking about before, Phoenix and Stargate plays in general really take advantage of how much extra micro you can do. Blink Stalkers, they can take advantage of that to an extent, but it's a lot harder to make it work if you're not continuously engaging against your opponent, continuously poking and prodding. And I feel like that's not really something that's been able to be done against this kind of composition. I mean, 3 Immortals, a bunch of Void Rays, Phoenix. You can't escape from this. You can't just poke forward and blink out. You're gonna get caught just like that. I don't know, Joe, but this is going to be a really, really difficult situation. UC Berkeley is holding strong, making sure that they do not want to lose this game, because if they lose this game, they're out. They're done with the playoffs. Their CSL season is over. Losing the Warp Prism is a really good start over here for Temple, but losing the 3rd, of course, is going to be a bit painful. I still don't know if they have a big enough army or a good enough army to take on this fight for UC Berkeley, but the Archons do add a lot of killing power against the exact composition that UC Berkeley has right now. Oh, I love this. That is a really, really strong maneuver. Because, yeah, the longer that this game goes on, that their own 3rd is now finishing up. And not only that, but these Stargate units are going to scale so much better into the late game than these Zealots and Stalkers. And even the Archons start to suffer as it gets into the later stages of the game. It's not exactly like there's Storm or anything. So here we go. Here's the big engagement. Archons have got to get a lot done. And the Zealots are getting a lot done on the ground. Oh my god. There's almost nothing. There's 2 Void Rays out, but no, GG gets called, and it looks like Temple University is going to the playoffs. Yeah, PvP, I've got to say, it's a very, very scary thing. And of course, I got to also hand it to Temple because they were doing something that we didn't actually talk a lot about. But during that entire time, they were getting their forge upgrades or getting their weapon upgrades. And that makes a huge difference. Had +2 versus +0 weapons. So, huge upgrade advantage going in favor of Temple. And the funny thing is, Zealots are incredibly strong. And you have to remember, when you're up against an army that's Stalkers and Immortals on the ground, or sorry, yeah, Stalkers and Immortals, Zealots do exceptionally well. Archons also deal pretty well because they aren't really taking a lot of extra damage versus those Immortals. They aren't really taking a lot of damage from the Stalkers, and the Phoenix can't do anything. So even the Void Rays will take a lot of splash damage if you aren't careful. So the composition ended up working out perfectly. It's great mid-game army, and it does not scale well into the later stages of the game. So really good game sense also from Temple University to push in at that exact moment. Not too early, not too late. It's a very delicate balance, but they handle it well, and they earn themselves their spot in the playoffs over in Toronto.